I'm not planning to use the front cable breaks. You can see they've just been hacked off here by the previous owner. To just show you how these go together, basically this bit here is held in with these two bolts from the back. So if I just lift that off, so that grips kind of the outside, this coiled steel, the outer sheath of the cable, and kind of grips it, and then the cable comes through. There's this ball on the end, and that ball just goes, I don't know if you can see it, in a like a slot in there. So to get it off, you basically just lever this forward, you see it'll move, and then push that down until it unhooks, and then it should pull out through this hole here. Let's see how we get on. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we are. So that's the end of our cable. So I'll keep that, so if we ever needed to renew the cables, I've got something the company can work from that would be remanufacturing them for me. There is actually one locally. Right, so what I'm going to do now is build up the front axle, so I've got all the parts finally. There's bushings which press in here, and they are slightly oversized, so that if you get a new kingpin it won't fit in. Now you have to ream them with a special tool so they're an absolute kind of perfect fit. Now this car had been sort of partially restored, the one that this is based on, and you can see that actually there's absolutely no play in there at all. So I think they've been set up and reamed properly, but some of the parts are missing, so I bought a kingpin kit. So the way you assemble it, there's the cup washer on the top, which the lip faces down, then you have the felt, which keeps the grease in, and then that goes through there, and then goes through there, and then at the bottom you have a bearing there, sits against this surface, and occasionally if they're worn you put a shim in. They actually give you some thin shims. Now in fact this is a pretty good interference fit, so I don't need the shim at all. Now I've read around, you see there's a side of the bearing that's got like a sort of opening there, and there's a sort of side that's curled over, and apparently you put it in that way around because you want any water or anything to sort of fall off and not fall into the bearing. These bearings seem a bit sort of, I don't know if the grease is a bit old in these or what, but I may actually put some extra grease in those before I put it all together. So when you put the kingpins in, the next thing is you want this groove to face that way, so it's lined up with this hole, because this hole is where we're going to put the I can't remember the correct name for it. There's basically a piece I'll show you in a minute that goes through and interlocks with that and jams it in place basically. So let's see how we get on. So these locking pins are, well actually they're cylindrical apart from this part which is tapered. You see how that interacts with that slot there, you see, and locks it. So you need to put these in from the front like that, and they'll come through the side here and lock the kingpin. I had to actually file this just a little bit, obviously not on that part, to get it to fit through, but I don't know if that's a bit of corrosion or what, but anyway it's all ready to be assembled now. Tight. Okay, you'll notice to make my life easier I've marked with the pen Sharpie here which side the groove is. So if I tap this down in that position, don't let it turn, it should be about right. Okay, something's happening. Okay, and then we'll just do that up, and then we'll do the other side. So the next thing I'm going to do is bolt the backing plates on these sort of grease catchers, keeps any grease off the pads. To do that I need these special bolts, and they have the square ends and they have a cotter pin hole as well. They were hard to get. The previous owner had mangled up sort of about 4 of these, trying to get them undone. So I did manage to find some. These are kind of reconditioned. Apparently they're cadmium plated. They were pretty hard to get actually. I mean, I could have just bought some without the cotter pin hole, regular bolts, but I thought I'd try and get the correct thing. And then I managed to find some castle nuts to go with them. And also I've got some regular nuts that also fit. So it should be okay. Okay, I've just loosely started putting the suspension together. I've put the spring in, spring perches, shock absorber mounts. Not sure if they're going to project forward or back yet. Probably forward, like that. This spring, with just being a single leaf, it's pretty easy to just flatten it out manually. So there's a hole there, and that needs to line up with the rest of the leaves. So it needs to go through there. So we need to squeeze these together, flatten that spring out. I'll use some clamps to do it. And I slowly undid this nut. I wasn't sure if these were going to come flying off, but in fact this bolt is a bit longer than it needs to be. So I should be able to get the tip of that through this hole, and then by clamping them together should be enough to get the nut on the bottom here, and then put these back on, because these will have to be taken out just while they're squeezing everything together. So hopefully that will go without too much catastrophe. As you can see, this clamp has just closed these leaves up just enough for this bolt to start to come through here. Takes a bit of lining up, and the good news is that the clamp isn't like stupid tight, like a hand grenade about to go off. It's just squeezing it gently, so a little bit more. I know where to get these back through, and we'll put the nut on there as well and just slowly bring it together a bit more. Okay, so everything's done up tight. These are back in, done up tight. This clamp is just for safety. I just don't want all the force on this slim bolt down the middle, so just shove this clamp on just to make sure nothing's going to go flying.